The iRod's rule language provides a syntax for writing rules. Policies can be written as computer actionable rules that are enforced by the data grid middleware. The rules are executed by a rule engine that is installed at each server location. All client actions are controlled by rules, making it possible to build a data management application that enforces a particular community's requirements. A rule is stored in a text file that has the extension .r. The rule language specifies the syntax for input variables and session variables about the current interaction, for querying persistent state variables stored in the metadata catalog, for operations that are performed, for writing results to the screen, and for workflow operations that control the execution of the rule. The policy language has some unique features, such as the ability to detect execution errors and back out of a sequence of operations. The policy language supports interactions with distributed servers, enabling the execution of successive operations on different computers. The text file that contains a rule has a specific syntax. The first line contains a rule name. If the rule controls operations at a policy enforcement point, the rule name must be the same as the policy enforcement point name. Note that the rule name cannot contain spaces or the dash character. The operations performed by the rule are enclosed in braces. Comments can be added to the rule at any place. A comment is the text that follows a pound symbol and is terminated by an end of line. Each operation is encapsulated in a microservice. All microservices should be terminated by a semicolon. Thus, a rule is a list of microservices that will be executed serially. Workflow microservices control loops, conditional tests, and output. After the rule, an input line specifies all of the input variables. The variables are listed on a single line separated by commas. The final line of the rule is an output line that lists the workflow variables that should be displayed. The output line must contain the string ruleExecOut for the results to be written to the screen for an interactive rule execution. An example rule is listed here. This rule has the name ruleExample. It has a comment line describing the purpose of the rule. It calls one microservice, the WriteLine microservice, to output the string hello world to the screen. Note that the WriteLine microservice has two arguments, a string specifying where the results will be written, standard out, and the string that is output. The input line has no parameters, hence the string null is used to indicate no parameters are input. The output line has the string ruleExecOut, which forces all the information written to standard out to be listed on your laptop screen. Note that the line with the microservice is terminated with a semicolon, but the input and output lines do not have a semicolon at the end of the line. When writing rules, all strings must be quoted using straight quotes. Microsoft text editors attempt to use curly quotes, which will not be interpreted correctly by the rule engine. Rules can be executed interactively from three clients. The cloud browser will execute a rule that has been loaded into the data grid. Clicking on the rule file will bring up an action list that includes rule execution. The iDrop web browser will execute a rule that has been loaded into the data grid. Clicking on the rule file will bring up a display window that lists the rule, lists the input parameters, and provides a place for output results to be listed. The file can be edited directly within the display window without having to download the rule to your laptop. You can save the edited rule. Unix shell commands called icommands can be used to execute a rule that resides on your laptop or a rule that is stored in the data grid. The commands are irule-F rulename.r, which executes a rule stored on your laptop, or irule-F I:\rulename.r, which executes a rule stored in the data grid. Rules can call other rules or rule functions. The Lifetime Library provides a standard set of rule functions that have been stored in the rule base. A rule function can also be listed after the main rule. The example shown here modifies the hello world rule to use a rule function. The rule completes the same operation as shown previously. However, this time, a rule function is called to execute the WriteLine microservice. Take 7 minutes to complete exercise 18. Write a rule that prints out your name. Use a text editor such as VI or Nano on a Mac. Modify the Hello World example and watch out for straight quotes. Load the rule into your lifetime library collection. You may want to create a sub-collection for holding the rules you create. Please load a paragraph describing what you did into the lifetime library in the sub-collection class INLS 624 by the end of today's class.